Hello, everyone. This is Michael Ensor with Advertising Report Card, and today we are doing a report card for the awesome restaurant Doghouse. So, just a quick run through of what the Advertising Report Card is that we're going to be recording this video to go through the report that we just completed for this account. It's for Google Ads, and the reason we do the video is there's a lot of information to capture, so we like to move quickly, but then also have something to reference back to if you guys ever need to look back as to what we recorded, what we found. And you can treat this as an action item list as well for all the things that need to get done with the account. And there's always more that can be done. But we have plenty now to go over. So I wanted to walk you guys through that now. And again, quick checklist of what it is that we do, plus any assets regarding what was done with the report are linked here. So hopping straight in, month one, the original month of the accounts for Doghouse for PPC. So overview on Doghouse, it's a restaurant franchise that is across the country. There's different types of beer gardens, Doghouse fast food, and other types of venues that they've created. The original campaigns were done for PPC search on Google. So what we're going to do is jump into these campaigns immediately and look at them real fast. So as you can see from the gourmet burgers and full bar, we have some stats here. So the first thing to point out is that this is an express campaign. This is not actually a search campaign. This is something that Google makes for people to launch campaigns very simply, but not necessarily very effectively. So let's take a quick look at these stats. You can see that we have 18,000 impressions, clicks, location actions, and calls. All of this looks really good, meant to be displayed in that way as well. So you can see a little bit of a search ad here, as well as some ideas as to what keywords were being searched for this location and what showed up. Also, what location was being targeted, the daily average, and the monthly max. If you click into any of these, what you'll see, the most important location actions is that with Express, you really don't have a good idea of what Google's tracking. It's called action signals, and this is what's tracked in Google Ads as well. Problem with this is that it's not showing us exactly how many people are taking immediate action. As an example, directions to the business or looking at your ad on Google Maps and your location, those other more important details. This is just an aggregated number of location actions, which as you can see here, people that are near you that are interested in your business or people traveling to your area. So it's very broad. And if you wanted to get a better idea of actual events that took place, if you go to clicks, you can see the clicks, but underneath the clicks, you can see what actually happened with the locations clicks, which map clicks is 12 versus the 1.38 thousand actions that happen location wise. When it comes to actual who clicked on the maps, only 12 people did. So as you can see here, this is a funny number by Google to show performance of an ad campaign that's supposed to be looking like it's running well, but in all actuality, it really might not be. But with that being said, that's an outside judgment. Let's go ahead and take a closer look. So if you go into campaigns, and I have this set for the duration of when the campaigns were running, you can see that there's another campaign as well, campaign 2, that was created. And then you can take a look at their conversions as well. And you will see that there were a lot of conversions recorded and it was extremely cheap. That's because those location events were factored into these conversions. And how to double check what was tracked, you can go to the conversions panel in Google Ads. And you'll be able to actually see what was being counted during that period of time. So what Google did was they locked out the conversions that they set up automatically with the campaign. Why they do this is because it's all hosted by Google. You can see here it's all created by Google, so they own all the data. That, and also they don't let you interfere with how they track data. So location actions, website visits, menu views, items of these nature. This is what's all aggregated into the actual campaign. It says get directions as well. But as you can see from the actual campaign itself, the clicks on the maps were very limited. So again, these numbers are skewed. And there's a problem with that. Reason being is that, first of all, there is a repeat rate. So anybody who might click twice on a link is going to get counted as a whole conversion. As you can see here, there's a repeat rate area. When in actuality, if one person converts on one conversion, that should count as one conversion. So let's say they search for you and they find your Google listing and they click your maps. That's one conversion. Can this person convert again? Absolutely, but they should convert at something else, like a purchase on the website or signing up for an email newsletter or one of those other actions. Having everybody who looked at the view map getting counted 2-3 times is going to skew the data. And as you can see here, you could probably reduce a decent amount of these conversions from the smart campaigns just based off of the repeat rate alone. So with the data that was gathered from the smart campaigns, which you can see here is all put in and looked at the actual performance data, doesn't look terrible on the click side. Problem is, again, why were we getting these clicks and what were the actual search terms coming in? And that's a big problem with these campaigns, is that you actually have no ability to take a look at what was being searched because it doesn't tell you. It just shows you some keywords in AdWords Express that got some clicks, but doesn't show you any additional data. And what that means is I'll show you right here. In the search term report, if you try to focus on these campaigns, it'll actually show you no search terms. It won't show you what people were searching to get those clicks. It'll just show you keywords in the AdWords Express area, which to me is kind of fishy because it lacks transparency. Also, in a way, it hurts businesses because it doesn't allow them to really figure out what they are doing and how effective things are. So that's why it's important to break things out into real campaigns, which happened in month 2. One of the focus real quick that this haul happened in Gaithersburg, right outside of Washington. This is a highly densely populated area. So understanding that as well is something that we're going to be looking at further into. And these are all notes just based off of what I walked through so that you can see them. A huge smoking gun on the smart campaigns is that 2 smart campaigns were set up, and up until September were running. They were directly in competition with themselves. As you can see here, Doghouse Beer Garden and Doghouse were in both campaigns spending simultaneously. What this means is that in order to get that click for Doghouse or Doghouse Beer Garden, you essentially have to increase your bid just to outcompete your other campaign that you have running. The way that this was set up, and in addition to the new search campaigns that were built on top of these, all the campaigns were cannibalizing themselves. So the actual cost to run this overall account has been more expensive than it should be. And there's definitely been a mix of damage to the quality score of the campaigns and keywords running, simply because the organization of the account itself wasn't properly segmented. Doghouse Beer Garden and Doghouse is a brand specific keyword and should not be in a campaign mixed together with things like food places in America, which, by the way, one click of this keyword spent $2.58, which this is a completely irrelevant term. So there's a lot of items to look at when it comes to just the keywords alone, which we're going to dive into deeper as well. So again, capping month 1 and month 2. Month 1 is when things were just getting started, spent a couple $100. Month 2 is when the budget first hit $1,000 in spend. Smart campaigns ran for a bit longer this month, but new campaigns were launched. So let's just take a look at August by itself. Let's go ahead and make this a little smaller. And as we can see here, we have 2 new campaigns that launched, plus the Express campaigns, which spent a collective $340. You also have the new campaigns that were built that spent around just under 700 or like low 600s. And then we have a display campaign that got started. So on these new search campaigns, the main thing that found were that there are a lack of actual organization inside the campaigns themselves. So Bethesda is one of the cities near Gaithersburg that we're targeting. And as you can see here, we have some different ad groups separating different types of keywords, most of which have been paused. But the main thing is that it's difficult to look at this setup just as is based off of the labels of the ad group. It's not clear what is actually in these ad groups that is causing this spend. So if we hop over into search keywords, the first thing you're going to see is the keywords that spent the most if you sort by the cost column, which, by the way, this is a custom report that we build in all accounts, advertising report card performance. If you need any guidance on this, just let us know. But as you can see here, we're bidding on terms like burgers. There's burger recipes, there's do-it-yourself burgers, there's best, burgers. There's all kinds of searches related just to the keyword burger. It is not specific enough for an account like this. There's no reason why the word burgers itself should ever be bid on, and it's generating traffic. But as you can see here, it's not cheap traffic, and it's not going to be performance-based traffic. We have one phone call from the lifespan of this keyword, the number one spending keyword in the campaign, by the way. One phone call and one conversion tracked. So not only is this the biggest spender, but it's one of the worst performers. Next, breakfast. Exact same thing as burgers, but worse. It's worse. Reason being is that burgers is at least a food. Breakfast, there's so many things related to breakfast. How about intermittent fasting? Like, what if I skip breakfast? There's people that could be searching for all different types of queries for the word breakfast that might not even have anything to do with food. So again, second biggest spender in the campaign, 0 phone calls, 0 conversions tracked. So again, it's really just about, in general, about using more logic and more, I don't want to say common sense, because that's not the case. This is a driven traffic platform, and maybe this was something that was discussed at the very beginning, but whoever set this up was being extremely broad to drive traffic, when in all actuality, it should have been done opposite. So when it comes to Bethesda, the actual products in detail should be highlighted in keywords, and it should only lean back out to the broad keywords once all of the focus keywords that are very important. For instance, one thing that blows my mind here is that hot dogs is the 4th highest spender. Hot dog by itself, again, very broad. Gourmet hot dogs, craft hot dogs, best hot dog restaurant near me. All of these keywords based off of the core focus of the product aren't being utilized. And as you can see here, this got the most calls out of these high spending keywords. Another thing too to consider is that in addition to both smart campaigns cannibalizing themselves, this one also included broad brand keywords that continued the cannibalization across the campaigns. So you've probably been spending 2 or 3 times as much as you need to on your own brand campaigns. Last but not least, burritos. Doghouse is they might have burritos. That's totally fine. Different variations of burritos. That's good. But there are so many different genres of food in general with burritos, and then also there's breakfast burritos. There's different types. It just kind of makes me a little bit overwhelmed to look at the spend of these keywords on this campaign, because it lacks fundamental development on what the keywords should be targeting. So without spending too much more time on this, I want to keep moving. But for someone who does this often, this is a tough account to review. Reason being that these keywords just are not structured or segmented in any way that makes any sense. Another thing too is that the conversion tracking has changed. Reason being is that this would have happened anyways if you moved from smart campaigns to your own campaigns. So let's move. Oh, this is already in August. You can see here all conversions. Smart campaigns still have conversions, but this is when the actual conversions that were created by the new campaigns. As you can see here, this is still Google hosted, but it's not locked out by the Express campaign, which I'll show you what that looks like. This conversion action was created by Google Ads for use of smart campaigns and can't be edited. So any conversion that you see in here that does not have a little bike lock next to it or a little padlock, you can actually go in and take a look, because they were either created by Google but within the realm of the campaign being built manually, or they were actually created by the person who built the account. So that's another thing too, is that the conversions they need to be discussed, and they need to be ironed out, and they need to be labeled properly. How are we able to properly track a campaign's performance without doing this? So that's the main thing I'm going to say, is that the conversions in general are hard to read. And then last but not least, the conversions have completely dropped off in reporting, because these new conversions that were created, some are meant to be included in conversions. Some were never set up that way at all. So we actually have 8 calls in August that are not reported with the data. And we also have this on repeat, which should only be 1. So again, we definitely have some interesting things that need to get fixed. A complete audit and rebuilding of the conversion tracking is something I would highly recommend. And that should start with, what are we tracking and why? One thing I did want to mention as well, specifically for this account, if you actually go to doghouse.com, they have a lot of locations. And in these locations, they all have different landing pages. And that's another thing, too, to take into consideration for this specific campaign, is that communicating with Doghouse on these locations and going to the actual location page and making sure that tracking is set up properly is going to be very important. Is it mandatory? No. There's a lot of ways that you can advertise without having every single thing tracked. But if you want to put your best dollar towards your best result, tracking the results are always going to be important. That'll never change. All right, so let's continue. Month 3, current month. So as you can see here, we have continued. Let me switch the columns real quick so it makes sense for us. Make these a little smaller so we can see the keyword performance. So burgers. This month was a huge month, specifically because the spend jumped greatly. I think we're at almost 2,000 for this month so far across all campaigns. Let's just take a quick look at that again. For September, we are at $2,044 spent this month, which, going from a couple $100 in August to $1,000 in September to 2,000. Starting in July with a couple $100, moving to 1,000 in August, and then jumping to 2,000 in September. Those are great budget increases for campaigns that are driving return on investment. But if you have a situation like you have here, where conversions aren't being tracked and you're bidding on keywords that are broad and you're not really seeing the result, the first thing you want to do is either pause the campaigns or cut your budget while you figure out what's wrong. So what we're going to do here is just really identify what exactly is wrong here. Spend, you can see here across 2 campaigns, they have the exact same ad group, but they're in different regions. So now what we've actually accomplished, and this is very serious, even though it might sound a little like a joke, but the seriousness is, we took in a situation that could be and should be considered an error or an issue, like the broad search for just burgers, and we multiplied it. So not only are we just going after Bethesda region, but also in the Kentlands region, which I'll pull up right here as well, the region will be different, is we're no longer really necessarily just competing with ourselves because we're looking at a different region. But just because it's labeled a different city doesn't mean we're targeting a different geo. So in reality, which this is, again, a tough pill to swallow in general when you're putting a lot of investment into these accounts, so just take it in stride because this is where we fix things, is that the keyword burgers has been useless in the overall sense that we're driving the right type of traffic, but it's also in competition with each other again. So as you can see here, we're spending a lot on these keywords, $3.29 per click on the keyword burgers. This is only as expensive because we're also bidding on the exact same keyword in another campaign. So the cannibalization here is not only evident, but it's a high spending cannibalization. As we can see here, it's not eligible anymore because the ad group has been paused. The problem with that is that if they were actually targeting proper separate regions, this wouldn't be an issue. They are targeting the same region, so now we had to pause. But another problem is Bethesda versus Kentlands has way more search volume. So let's say that these keywords were good, but they were in competition. The first thing you're going to want to do is get rid of the one that performs worse. This is a cheaper cost per click, has gotten more impressions and more clicks. This is a way more expensive cost per click. So these are fundamental issues that are flaws in the account that look like at one point in time we're getting semi-fixed by pausing the ad group, but in actuality what should have been done is the location should have been refined more specifically. Like focus on the city, focus on some zip codes. Don't just throw a geo and name two different campaigns, two different city names, when in all actuality the targeting is hitting the same city. So the one thing that is redeeming here is an exact match for the brand. As we can see here, that's good. Only problem is the brand is inside the same campaign as burgers. So when you have a brand campaign, you should only have brand ad groups. You should not have brand plus product plus region ad groups in the same campaign. Now, a lot of ad managers will hear that and they say, well, if we just make a bunch of different campaigns and make more and more ad groups, it's going to become harder and harder to manage the account, which is wrong. Having more campaigns and more ad groups makes it easier. Do you have to refine it more? Are there more nuances? Yes, but that's also the point of pay-per-click advertising, not to just go after some keywords and drive traffic, but to make sure that the traffic you're driving is always performing better. So this is another one that's worth talking about, but still isn't 100%, is the restaurants near me. Got to give a little bit of a round of a hand here because this is the first time they've used actual regional keyword in conjunction with what Doghouse is, which is a restaurant. Is there a much better way of doing this? Absolutely. This is still way too broad. Restaurants near me is top of funnel where people have no idea what they're looking for. They're just looking for restaurants, but it is something that we could throw our hat in the ring. And then we have some more core city terms, like Doghouse brand plus city, which is great. This is an example of a keyword that should be broken out into a brand plus regional ad group in a brand campaign, not just in the overall campaign itself. Happy hours. I don't feel like I should probably have to dive back into how this is very similar to burritos. So we can just skip past this, but I think it's pretty obvious at this point that the keywords are way too broad, like dinner. What's for dinner? Dinner at home. How to cook dinner. All of these searches for dinner. Maybe nothing to do with actually going out for food. And then once they do, how do you know that they're going to decide on a hot dog or what's on the Doghouse menu? It's not specific enough. This is the top of the funnel of people who have no idea what they're looking for. This is not something that should be bid on. Okay, moving on. So one thing that happened that was different from the previous months is a display campaign. A display campaign was launched, which again, just to give you a quick look. A display campaign was launched. It's called Display for both locations. Definitely don't recommend that. If you want to focus on a location and see what performance is related to that location, that's what you focus on. You don't do a campaign for both locations. Another thing too is that this focus, while they have some decent ads, this all needs to be rebuilt. Reason being is that the creative itself is not being tapped into properly. There is so much creative. Doghouse as a corporate company has been doing amazing with their creative. Like just looking at the social media, there's so many things that Doghouse creative could be used for in display, and only one of the image ads is being used in conjunction with a random search ad with no image at all, as you can see here. So the main smoking gun in this account for the display, other than the weak ads, which definitely need to be sharpened, is the audiences. So there's only one display campaign running with one ad group focusing on one audience, which is the fast food cravers. So not terrible. It has an audience, which is important. Not having an audience, the report card would definitely be, an F. But since it's a display campaign with an audience, it gets a D. Main thing with that is that there's only one being targeted when there's so many options for what we could target. Big thing for fast food, parents. Targeting a specific age group and making sure that the ad is geared towards an easy experience that kids love. Most parents these days grew up eating hot dogs, so tapping into the nostalgia with an advertising campaign about bringing their kids to the new wave of hot dogs. Definitely something that could be considered very effective, especially when you have kids that play sports. So diving deeper into these types of statuses are really important as well. Sports in general, like baseball, audience that people who love hot dogs. So there's a lot of things that you can put in there as well, especially if one of the doghouse locations does have the beer garden bar with the TVs, advertising that with the hot dogs. Very effective group strategy. And then also with foodies, diners buy meal underneath frequently dines out, frequently eats breakfast out, dinner, and lunch. These are audiences not being used. And it's frustrating for me because if you look at the search campaign, it's literally targeting breakfast, dinner, and lunch broad with keywords, but it doesn't go any further. And then if you look at the display campaigns, we have literally the option to pursue that specific audience, and we don't with what the current setup is. So there should be multiple ad groups focusing on all of these different categories, but then not just that, but the ad copy itself, the ads themselves should be geared towards that audience. So let's see what's next. Again, this dives into all the different options we have for audiences for display. So let's waste no further time and jump directly into the summary. Smart campaigns versus regular campaigns. Never use smart campaigns, always use regular campaigns. Your optimization is limited. The control of your campaigns is limited. You're not tracking keyword data properly. You're just looking at keywords that cause clicks, not what actually people are searching. And it's also going to screw up your conversion counts because the way that Google sets these conversions up is that the moment that you get any type of engagement with anything at all, it counts it as a conversion. When a conversion should be seen as somebody who's taking a meaningful action or actually making a purchase or signing up for something. And this is an example. If you look just at the campaigns for the smart campaigns and when they ran, there are 0 search terms in the report, which is terrible because those search term data, that's what's going to help us build out better and better campaigns, is understanding how people searched. And inside of the performance report, I also pulled a search term report of every search term, as you can see here, that we showed up for, and then all the data associated with it. So if we just looked at September, what we have here is burgers. The number one place we're spending to show ads for is for people searching verbatim for Burger King. Now, if Burger King is a good competitor for us to target, that might make sense. But the keyword itself should be Burger King, and it should be in a competitor campaign. Right now, there are no competitor campaigns. Everything is just linked into the same campaigns. So everything is just, the keywords are eating themselves and bidding against themselves. So you're raising your cost per click, and you're also not letting your most valuable keywords show. Brand, these should be done in brand plus regional ad groups, and the actual negative keywords should be blocking against each other. So only people looking for Doghouse and Bethesda versus Gaithersburg should have their own keywords with their own search ads that say the city name in the actual ad itself. None of this is being done. So the quality score is also being heard as well. There's 3 main cities at the very top that are being shown, and these are the ones that really need to be focused on. You can see here, the brand campaign needs to be built structurally in a proper way. And then also the competitors, Burger King, The Habit Burger, Mr. Beast Burger. My main thing here that I find that's kind of confusing, look at this, Chinese food, Gaithersburg. And that's because of the broad keyword for dinner near me. I think that there's a lot that needs to get done on this account. Mostly just gearing things more towards the direct service and the product that is being focused on, which is hot dogs. Does Doghouse serve more than hot dogs? Absolutely. Breakfast burritos, for sure. But the actual competitors who sell that aren't Chinese restaurants. So that kind of brings me to the point to where this is just too broad finding every restaurant in a 20-mile radius of you that also focuses on hot dogs and building a competitor plus product-based campaign, that is a start. But just going after burgers, you're going to waste a lot of budget and you're not going to get a lot of business from it. So an example, Savage Burrito, a competitor that serves burritos. We have breakfast burritos, Savage breakfast burritos. That could be a good competitor term to focus on because we'll be able to track the specific product we're trying to sell, which is the breakfast burrito, against a competitor keyword. So that's an actual example of something that you can use to your advantage to better build the campaign. So funnel structure, this is a big part too, is that every single campaign here is top of funnel, meaning that it's all people who may or may not have ever engaged with your product before, who may or may not have ever been your customer before, and they're just searching for very broad things like burgers and dinner. So if those people click your ads and they do not convert, that's a problem. You want to look at your middle of funnel and see what you can do to be more specific. So without even including remarketing in this discussion, the main thing is you have a top of funnel strategy that needs to get paused immediately and focus on your new traffic middle of funnel, which are people looking for your specific products on your menu and your specific offerings. And then bottom of funnel, like your brand keywords and then your specific items, people who may have never shopped with you but know exactly that they're looking for you. And then on the reverse side of your funnel, making sure that you also have remarketing in place. So somebody does shop with you, somebody does buy from you, that you are then serving them ads again to get them to come back in. Campaign structure, main thing is cleaning up this brand focused terms. If you give us a shot to do this for you, I cannot wait to make this work better because the way that this is built is not sustainable. Time of day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner should be its own campaign, top of funnel and paused. Food category, hot dogs, would be very specific about what you're trying to bid on. The main thing you're going to want to really look at are combinations of these strategies. Time of day plus food category. So best breakfast burrito near me, or best breakfast burrito in Gaithersburg. Time of day, food category. Breakfast, food. And then also you can tie in those with regional like I just did. Best breakfast burrito in city. Also regional focus plus time of day. Best breakfast in city. Regional focus plus food category. Best hot dog in city. So there's a lot of different items that need to be broken out in the campaigns that just make more sense logically. And it's going to have a big impact. It's going to be a lower spending, higher producing campaign structure in general. Last but not least, the delivery focus. Anybody who doesn't just immediately pop open their Uber Eats, we should have an ad telling people that they will be incentivized to order directly from you or come in versus using Uber Eats because of how much money Uber Eats takes from the restaurant. If you want to push Uber Eats sales, we can absolutely do that as well. But the main thing, But the main thing is that it's not being attacked at all. We're not showing for any of those keywords at all. So then the other one is competitor terms. I think we could definitely hammer the competitor market and do very well because we can go after the other hot dog restaurants and hot dog stands and places that people are known for hot dogs and show the Dog House brand, which is synonymous with hot dogs, Dog House hot dogs. So making sure that we're hammering down the competitor terms is huge. And then similar competitors, people who serve breakfast burritos can definitely fall in that category because out of the gate, if you have a hot dog specific hot dog cart and you're also selling breakfast burritos, it's not a one-to-one match on the service. People don't think hot dogs and, I want a breakfast burrito. And people don't think necessarily breakfast burrito and then say, hey, I want a hot dog. People consider breakfast burrito for breakfast and hot dog for lunch, unless you're a unique individual who has your own diet, plan. But that's the main thing on the competitor side is just being more logical when it comes to how we're bidding. And I honestly think that the one-to-one match in the hot dog competitor campaign is really all you need. If you're really trying to push burgers as a hot dog restaurant, that in itself has a whole strategy that needs to be discussed. It can't just be, let's throw some hamburger keywords in there. It's not going to work the way you need it to. So the campaign strategy, I mentioned the image quality. These images in themselves with the way that the ad is structured is not clear as to what we're looking at. there are so many good pieces of media from Doghouse that could be used in these display campaigns. And the fact that this is what was chosen by the ad manager is upsetting. If this was my campaign, I would be very disappointed with the creative that was chosen for this campaign. Likewise, Doghouse has amazing videos on YouTube, and they have great videos that they've created for their brand, all of which should be used in YouTube ad campaigns, none of which is being used at all. There are no video campaigns. I would definitely highly recommend changing that as well. So the audience strategy, I kind of discussed this a little bit earlier, but again, parents, people looking for specific foods, similar audiences, and also exclude the people who are DIYers, home cooks, people who do not want to go out to eat, people who are vegan, who don't want to eat a hot dog, people who are vegetarians. These are things that can be excluded. Do you have a vegan item on your menu? Do you have a vegetarian item on your menu? Do you want to market towards vegan people and vegetarians? Great. But the same way that if you want to deviate from what your brand and the focused products of your brand are, you need a full strategy for that. You can't just throw a couple keywords in an ad group and hope that it works, because it will not work for you. No remarketing campaigns is always the number one converter. I have a link to an actual remarketing campaign that was done recently that you can look at as well to kind of just explain deeper what an actual result from doing a proper remarketing campaign can bring. But yeah, the fact that we're not remarketing at all is tough. The major point of restaurant marketing isn't just bringing in new business. It's lifetime value of your customer, or LTV. This is a major business metric. All business plans should include it. All marketing plans should include it. If somebody buys a hot dog from you, your goal as a restaurant owner is to get them back within 7 days to buy another one, or to try something else on the menu, or to bring new people with them. What are you doing to incentivize your lifetime value of your customer? Are we remarketing and say, hey, come in again within the next X amount of days and it's buy one, get one? Most people aren't going to just buy 2 hot dogs. They're going to bring somebody with them. Likewise, you can issue coupons or discount codes for ordering online. Say, hey, want to eat at home next time? Use this for 10% off of Uber Eats, as an example. There's a lot of things that need to be done on the remarketing side, to the extent to where I would almost say, running 50-50 budget between remarketing and new search would be a recommendation. With the search campaign fixes proposed in this report, you do not need to spend as much. You will not need to spend as much on the search side. Can you? Yes. You will more dominate your market and your ability to show ads, but you'll be able to also dedicate the money that you've saved from making all of these fixes and put it into your remarketing campaign. A big thing too is, going forward, anybody you work with, us, Tom, Dick, or Harry, they need to fix your conversion tracking, and it needs to be properly reported so that you as the business owner can go in and say, hey, I got 40 phone calls last month, but then we added this YouTube strategy and I got 60 phone calls. Was it because of the YouTube strategy, or did we do something different? What happened? What did you do for me? What is the result of that action? You will never get that data unless you have proper conversion tracking set up. And as you can see here, it's kind of a mess. Corporate strategy. So after working with a lot of franchisees and also with the actual corporate franchisors before, the main thing I want to say is that Doghouse is a strong corporate brand. They have great branding. They have a great strategy. They have good content. You can tell they're definitely investing in their media, have made a significant investment, and continue to invest. So they're proactive. You're going to have to align yourself with that corporate strategy on the franchisee level by doing a few things specific that maybe not all corporate franchisors advertise enough. Typically, they're going to give you your login portals and your marketing materials, and they're going to provide you some level of guidance. But reaching out to whoever your contact is at the actual franchisor level is important. So for Facebook ads, you need access to the ad account, even if it's read-only, just to see what they're doing and how it's performing and how they did it. If I could get access and look at that with you, you'll be able to understand what's being done and use it to your advantage. Also, you want to be able to run your own ads. They're doing ads for you on the top level when it comes to Facebook, but you're not doing any remarketing. And that's a major thing for social media, is remarketing. Anybody who visits you, you can put a coupon code in their face. You're going to get repeat foot traffic. Google Analytics is another thing too, is how are we supposed to track conversions properly if we don't have access to the analytics account? It was mentioned after digging deeper and attempting to try to get access, that access is granted, was never granted to advertising report card. And I guess what was in analytics was missing data. It's unclear to us what that means or how we can help. But main thing is that franchisors don't mind if you have access to Google Analytics. And if there's an issue, they might not know about it. If they built new pages and they have a tracking system set up that's not accounting for new pages being built, reach out to them and let them know. It's like, hey, I have this data that I'm trying to look at. I'm trying to do better with my business, but I can't seem to access it. Can you take a look into this and also give me more information about what I can get access to? Very important. And last but not least, not required by advertising report card at all. There's plenty of times where we're told to run traffic to a landing page and that tracking won't ever be included and we'll never really know the result, which is fine. You know, there's a lot of different businesses with different types of authorization that they can provide to a third party like us to help with these things. But as a business owner and as someone who's owned multiple businesses throughout their life, not having access to core business analytics is an issue. If you're paying for advertising, which you have a healthy budget, and I think you're doing the right thing by trying to grow your business in this way, you need to be able to see how many purchases happen from your Google ads. And you need to be able to share that data with the person running the ads with you. Because if we have a keyword called hamburger, sorry, I don't mean to harp so much, but it's just, you know, it's like a chef looking at a kitchen. So I feel like Gordon Ramsay right now, but like for ads. If you have spent $600-ish, a little short, shy of $600, and you haven't sold more hamburgers, or you can't say that this ad campaign helped me sell more hamburgers, you're going to find yourself in a situation where you're constantly spending ad budget and not knowing what is coming of it. We can track as much as we can on our side with Google Maps and different actions that take place on the site. Like let's say somebody clicks a button that sends them to Uber Eats. We can track that button being clicked on your website. Can we track if they convert? That's something that we need to discuss because it's very important that your efforts and your investments are correlated with down the line revenue. If not, you'll never have a one-to-one match. Does that mean you shouldn't advertise? No. There are options for tracking things. Like I had just said, if they click a button that sends them to Uber Eats, tracking that, and then looking at the lift of sales on the Uber Eats reporting dashboard is how you can correlate those numbers. Is it an extra step where you have to compare two reports? Yes. So getting better business analytics from the franchisor is important, but there are strategies that we can help you guys with when it comes to tracking performance. And then last but not least, of course, lack of data. In general, if we can't see Google Analytics, can't see the Facebook ads, can't see the business analytics, you are able to advertise. There are ways that we can definitely improve it. I think that there's ways that we can definitely track it. But overall, I would absolutely express to the franchisor that you are looking to build and scale and get more franchisee locations built out, but you're going to need a little bit of support. So that's it in a nutshell for the advertising report card for Doghouse. If you have any questions, please let me know. We're going to be doing a follow-up call to go over this video and the notes that we're taking. Again, the way that this process works is that you can take this information and with the details that we've provided, you should be able to do this on your own with a little experience. If you have an agency doing this for you, feel free to send this video to them. And if you want us to hop in and make these fixes for you on the fly, we already have a deliverables list and we are ready to do that for you, but we wanted to make sure that you had this information first before you decided how you wanted to proceed. Again, Michael Ensor, Advertising Report Card. Thank you, everybody. Looking forward to helping you out further.